Bonjour, chers amis. Welcome back to the Haitian Community Podcast with your hosts, Brittany Isidore and...
Shaw St. Cyr.
That's right. The heart of our conversations illuminate the stories within the Haitian community and beyond. We are dedicated to showcasing individuals making a meaningful impact. Each episode delves into the realms of entrepreneurship, creativity, and community building. Our focus is on uplifting voices that inspire and empower our Haitian diaspora. This month is a very special month, I should say. Do you know what month it is, Shaw?
It's March.
It's March. What about March is special?
It's like the second Mother's Month.
The second Mother's. Okay, that's interesting. Okay,
close.
The second Mother's Month.
I'm just trying
Tag
to get
him on that, ladies. Okay, so we are celebrating Women's History Month.
Absolutely.
And we are doing it by doing it in a way that I don't think there's any better way to do this on this podcast. We are taking the time to honor and put a spotlight on an amazing woman in our very own community and the Haitian community who is doing amazing work. Today, I am thrilled to welcome and introduce Paulette Blanc.
Breathe easy.
Who is the Chief of Research and co-founder at Measure. Paulette is not just a software engineer, y'all. She is a data scientist, and she is passionate, and she is a former public health consultant that is deeply dedicated to health, wellness, data analysis, research, and social activism. With a remarkable blend of empathy and technical expertise, she leverages technology to tackle real-world issues, extracting valuable insights from complex data sets to drive effective interventions. As a staunch advocate for equity and justice, Paulette tirelessly champions the voices of underserved populations, pushing for greater diversity in research and technology. If you guys are not already excited, I don't know what you're doing right now. You need to pay attention, right? Her research uncovers hidden healthcare patterns and trends, informing critical policy decisions in program development. She is truly a powerful force for positive change, embodying hope for a healthier and more equitable future. I think we need to clap it up, right? Let's go. Welcome to our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, Paulette. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that incredible introduction.
I was like, that's a dope intro.
It's a dope intro.
I'm surprised we need a red carpet out here.
It's a dope intro.
It's dope. It's dope. Talk to me. I want to know if you grew up in Miami or Haitian Miami.
I definitely grew up in Haitian Miami. I went to North Miami Senior High. That's also known as Haitian High.
Okay.
So, of course, Miami native, born and raised. My parents are from Haiti, so, first generation immigrants coming here to just give their children and themselves a better life. So Miami is definitely home to me and a huge part of, my story.
So it wasn't crazy for you to bring soup jamu in your lunchbox? It wasn't anything crazy like that?
Nah, it wasn't. Of course, all I ate was Haitian food because that's what my, parents know. And obviously learning to cook it at a young age, too. My mom would always, brag that, I was 7 years old making food for my family. You need to be able to learn.
They bragged about that all the time.
And me being the rebel child, being we're in America now. I am pretty sure that is not what CPS would, be okay with us being on the stove and
burning your hands and so forth.
She's like, I got this scar when I was 7, right?
Right.
Cooking for the whole family.
My parents and my mother, she wouldn't even let me make cassave with mamba. Straight up,
really?
You don't belong in the kitchen. Men don't belong in the kitchen.
It must be because of the guy thing.
Yeah,
women,
it was a guy
you're
thing.
up at, dawn on a Saturday because you have your, woman duties and, all the Haitian traditions to get to learn at a young age.
Yeah. You can't, I think, and maybe this is just my family, but women in general, and maybe just the Haitian women community, the Haitian community of women, or just Caribbean and African, maybe even Latino, women are ready to live on their own if they ever had to do it. If someone were to get hit by a car or die in a car accident, God forbid, someone can take over. As men, we typically have to go and replace that woman. and I don't think that's right. You know, so and these aren't things written in a book, right? We're celebrating women's history, right? So there's a lot of relationships and cultivating of a woman at an early age. Was it like that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, as much as I griped about it as a child, like once I went off to college, I was just so appreciative of all the skills and like the know-hows that I had, that like me and my best friend, we just basically cooked meals for everybody because, you know, people didn't really have those skills.
Or
And I'm
y'all
like,
cooking.
Yeah,
of course, Haitian food, you know, the décollé, we were making chicken and sauce and just everything.
She's grinding. She
Y'all
between
were
classes,
popular.
you cleaning the
Right.
rice.
Right. That was just part of life.
Did you guys ever sell food in college?
No, we didn't.
No,
We
no
didn't.
pan much.
No.
Oh my God.
I was a hairstylist though, being in Miami, of course, and also being
Yeah.
a black woman, you just have to learn how to do your own hair. And also thankful for having that skill in college, moving away to a town that just really didn't have all those resources, and really glad that I just kind of knew how to take care of myself on top of like managing being a first generation college student.
So where did you go to school? Like in which city?
I went to University of Florida. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Okay.
I
Boonies.
initially had a pre-med track. I mean, of course, being a child of Haitian immigrants, you have three choices: doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Right.
And so I originally started off on a pre-med track, but ended up exploring public health as a career option. And so I got into that, doing a master's in epidemiology, which is really a big fancy word to just say I'm going to be out here crunching numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started off my journey really just doing a lot of the data analysis, working at the University of Florida. They have a family medicine department. I
Okay.
was the quality data manager there, and just did a lot of work looking at, you know, health outcomes. And I think part of how it transitioned me into where I'm at now as chief of research is working with the data, seeing a lot of the negative outcomes, particularly just it's sad with particularly the Black community having a lot of the negative outcomes and experiences in healthcare. But for me, what was most troubling was like the stories that, you know, I would hear healthcare professionals say, like, oh, they just don't care about their health, and this is particularly why they're experiencing this, when the conversation really needed to be about like the systems that were at play, the disinvestment that happened in our communities, particularly education systems, not really having resources in our community.
Do you still
having
see
a
that today? Like, I'm sure from a historical standpoint, I forgot this lady's name, but there was a book written about her and her genes, and Oprah starred in a movie emulating this lady
Henrietta
from.
Lacks.
Yes, right. And how they used to steal Black people off the streets of New York and Baltimore and so forth, just to use them as guinea pigs, right?
Yeah.
We've come a long way, hopefully, from that, but we still have a lot of high blood pressure, hypertension, asthma, diabetes, obesity. There's so many things that people are saying, hey, the food here is not as good as the food in Haiti, or, you know, we're dealing with organic problems. But my grandmother got her legs amputated, and she's from Okap, and she never lived in the States. So do you see that there is some truth in what they're saying? And is there a disparity in medical services?
I think the truth is more around the systems that facilitate the outcomes, particularly around like the food deserts and not really having
Right.
access to healthy foods. That's definitely going to contribute to your ability to take care of yourself. If
Right.
you don't have access to healthier foods, then you're not making. I guess the system, the narrative tends to make it seem like, you know, your choices, like, oh, you made that choice, but you know, what options were you really given? If like it takes an hour to go get healthy food, then of course you're going to lean on some of the processed foods and unhealthy snacks that are available. That's going to contribute to you not having diabetes and all kinds of other negative outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, and maybe it's safe to say, it's harder to go to a supermarket than it is to go through a drive-through.
Right.
You know, so our food choices, I'm not going to name any franchises or anything like that, but their foods are packed with sodium. I don't think people are checking the sodium count, the micronutritional things when it comes to the food. They're just posting the caloric value up on the screen. And that is misinformation. You'd be like, oh, this is a healthy salad. Meanwhile, the salad has more calories than a burger. Try not to name names. This is really hard.
Uh-oh. If you read between the lines.
So when you were doing all this research, did it have an impact on you to make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the pivotal things for me is that when I was working and crunching the numbers, one of the things I did was a geographic map. So one of the projects that I was working on is a project called the Frequent Flyers. And for hospital readmissions, meaning that you get discharged from the hospital and then you're back within I think it's within 3 or 7 days. Some narratives were like, oh yeah, they just like coming here. And then when I mapped where a lot of the frequent flyers were, they were on a particular side of town. When I looked at other maps, it's also the same maps where, the educational disparities were in terms of, low graduation rates. It was also a food desert. So a lot of that helped to bring the conversation around like, okay, what are the systems that are at play that are causing people to have those negative health outcomes that we can try to mitigate versus particularly placing the blame on the person when, their behaviors do, impact their health, and there's things that we can do as well. But the main focus should be on what systems are we putting in place to make sure that everyone can have a healthy life.
So, in Brooklyn, it's a nice place. We don't have food deserts like that when it comes to the Caribbean community. What about Miami? Were there food deserts in the Haitian communities? Or you could get banane pesé and, you could get mangoes. Was there a disparity in these areas, the Liberty cities and so forth?
I mean, growing up where I did, I know particularly just in my household, my mom was dedicated to, being, the housewife, and my dad traditionally wanted that. So we always had somebody there to make sure that we had food and stuff. So my younger years, I particularly can't speak to. I blame it on being, again, Haitian, because you have l'école, l'église, meaning church, home, and school. And so I really wasn't out and about. And it wasn't until I got out into the real world and I spent most of my time. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I moved back to Miami. So I went off to college, and then I spent a good amount of time in Austin as well, working and stuff. And so I feel like I can't speak as much to that because we always just had food at home where my mom would cook. So we had fresh foods, but I can't really speak to how she got there. I know we always had a community, so I'm sure she...
Were you cooking Haitian food in Austin?
Of course.
Absolutely. So you
By
found...
then you raised up your game, right? I know people were calling you for food.
Oh, absolutely. There definitely wasn't too much of just Haitian restaurants that you could go to. So you had to know how to make it for yourself if you were craving Haitian food. I did find some good pockets here and there. I actually would travel an hour away to this a city called Killeen, where there was this amazing Haitian restaurant that was so authentic. And a group of us as, just Haitian people in Austin that, as soon as we hear about, oh, you're Haitian, we got to be, make a group and connect with one another and support one another.
True.
That's love.
It's so true. When you move to somewhere where there's not a lot of Haitians, the first Haitian becomes your best friend.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. So once you started doing your research and you started seeing these deserts, even if there are supermarkets and things like that, what's being cooked on the stove, the amount of oil, the amount of things like that. I think when we talk about other classes of people, tend to say their food is flavorless. Again, I'm not saying any names, right? But we're packed with flavor, right? But I'll say cubes. I'm trying not to say the name of brands and stuff.
Yeah. Bouillon cube.
Oh,
yeah, bouillon.
you
Yeah.
said
No.
it.
I don't think that's the name. It's
That's
just what the
that's
product
Yeah,
is.
it's called
Yeah.
the Bouillon cube, but
Well,
there's
then-
different brands that make it. I'm not going to say the name of the brand.
The M cubes.
Yes.
The M.
The M, right? These things, I think, contribute to poor health and things like that, right? So your goal, is it to change the dynamics of the Black community and improve how they eat, improve their overall health in the research?
I think that's part of the goal. There's
Okay.
so many different factors that contribute to it. I think health-wise and food-wise, I know that there's a lot of bureaucratic and political things that are at play that even allow some of the things that are in our foods that are unhealthy for us. I know there's different standards, particularly in Europe. Like when you look at the ingredients in their ketchup compared to what's allowed in, U.S. markets, it's completely different. Even Canada.
Can we talk
what's
about that?
allowed in that.
Can you give some examples? Because it's crazy right now. Like, once you start doing the research on which foods, like, again, I'm not saying any names, but it was cereal day a couple of days ago. I think it was yesterday.
It might have been.
Okay.
It was like cereal day. I don't know if you saw the notice.
Yeah.
And like 89% of the cereals in the United States are banned in Japan, banned in Canada, banned in Europe. But that's overall, like, people are eating coconut cereal, things of that nature, right? How are we going to change the dynamics of this country if we can't allow ourselves to be regulated by certain government entities? We can't do our due diligence if certain things are just coming into the system, and our food choices are very much tampered with as is. You know, what do you think needs to take place as it's just opposed to just studying the numbers, crunching the numbers?
Yeah, education is definitely a big part of it, and doing personal education, because I know I've gone through the education system, 12 years of, just K through 12 plus, 4 plus 6 years of, college and post-grad education. And a lot of it is not about the nutrition and what's actually going to be good for you, what's not good for you, how to look at food ingredient labels and knowing like, hey, this ingredient shouldn't be in here, or this isn't something that I should have. A lot of that I just learned on my own, just wanting to, taking on a health and wellness journey.
Yeah. Can we talk about that? Because
Yes,
I feel
please.
like I can identify with what you're saying, Paulette. As someone who has had the privilege of going to school, of receiving an education, right, of getting a bachelor's degree, enrolling in graduate school, I feel like it's given me the skills to actually learn how to research things on my own. And I think what you're saying is that going back to that study you did in undergrad at UF, shout out again.
Go Gators.
Go
Go
Gators.
Gators.
Sorry, Shaw. We had to shout it out again.
I'm afraid of gators.
Listen, we should be. Hold up. We really should be. I feel like I have a privilege that allows me to research certain things I have questions about in regards to health, right? Intermittent fasting. Now we're talking about the importance of the gut microbiome and how you should eat 30 different plants a week. And I feel like every week I have the ability to learn about something new, right? Let alone, like, we know knowledge doesn't equal behavior change, right? I will be honest and tell y'all I've been on my health journey, right? But at least I have the knowledge in the first place. Thinking back to the study that you did in undergrad, thinking about the communities that were underperforming in regards to health disparities, was there a correlation in the level of education they had?
Yeah, I think having the education and know-how, I think most of what maybe the education system doesn't do as well is, a lot of the critical thinking skills. Oftentimes, I think it's memorization, passing, getting an A.
I know I was trying to memorize.
Right? Particularly being on a med school track, I know that's one of the things that just like memorizing all of these things and studying, but not really getting to dig into the like, why is this important? Really just kind of building your skills as a critical thinker, of asking the right questions and digging deeper and kind of exploring in that way. So I think that's really helpful to kind of learn that, particularly what works for you. And not just kind of the general thing that you see everyone else is doing, thinking about, again, what works for me, what kind of is better with my schedule, how can I build systems in place that can keep me healthy, whether it is scheduling walks after meetings or having a walking meeting. I know that's one thing that I asked today. I was like, hey, this meeting, do you need me to be on the computer? Because I'm going to be on a treadmill.
You got your watch? You got a watch?
I don't.
You don't have a pedometer?
I'm a techie, but I try not to be too into tech. Like, I try to
not to be dependent on it. Yeah. So, Measure. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, Measure, we are an all-female, Black female-led research and data activism organization.
That's amazing.
That's dope.
Thank you.
Wow.
We got started in Austin in 2015, really at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement. Particularly around that time, there was a young Haitian boy actually in Austin that got killed. He seemed to have like some mental issues and was running naked, and somehow that was a threat, and he got shot and killed by a police officer, and it led to a lot of unrest, and particularly...
It made national news? I don't remember this.
I think it was very more local to Austin.
Really? That
particularly, I
sounds-
think, too, in America, this stuff just happens
Right.
where not everything gets to make national news because of how maybe prevalent this is.
Right.
And so that led to a community panel with those activists there. There was the police department talking about community policing. And so I met with a woman in Austin who is the president and founder of Measure, brilliant visionary who, instead of being the angry activist that they were anticipating her being, she really leaned in on asking them about the data. How are you measuring community policing? How do you know that this is even working for us? And so all of these questions really brought about Measure becoming an organization where we really are leaning into the data. I think particularly for people of color, we call ourselves powerful Black, Brown, and Indigenous-led people.
That's a fact, though.
Really leaning in on the data and being owners of the data and the story around the data. Particularly, as I mentioned, when I worked in healthcare, that narrative around, they just don't care about their health. But if we're the researchers and we own the data and the narrative around it, we can really tell a different story.
This is so dope.
Did you catch everything that she said?
We might need to have her play it back.
Not only play it back, but we were talking about these things yesterday.
Yeah.
We were actually having a conversation about how we could be more effective and beneficial to the Haitian community, particularly with mental health, and not just take it from just the Haitian community, but a parental/child community, because we do believe that by educating the nucleus of the family, that there will be a reciprocation of the children learning from the parents and the parents learning from the children, or just concurrently they're learning from each other so that we can improve our lives. As I took my journey into improving my health, I had to debunk so many things that my parents thought were healthy. My dad, he said, look, you ain't got to watch what you eat if you work out. And he's adamant about that. But what you're talking about is so pivotal in an effort to really reconstruct the way we think, and just replacing the low self-esteem of the Black community with actual numbers to improve on.
Yeah. So empowering, Paulette.
Yeah.
I love how your founder and now your entire team is challenging the status quo. I think all of us can agree that we are tired of being dictated our own numbers, right? And now you are owning that, and you're empowering our community by saying, hey, how should we even... I bet you guys are like so participatory, right? Absolutely. You're going into the community, you're listening to people about what their experiences are, you're collecting data in a way that's culturally relevant and mindful, probably, right? To people's day-to-day life and what that looks like, right? Can you share a little bit more about the process of how Measure engages with the community?
I just don't know why you're not wearing a white robe and crunching numbers with a pencil protector. I'm not seeing that.
We're going to have to create an icon for her.
I just see her in a lab. Like,
no, we are definitely trying to change like what a researcher looks like.
Okay.
Particularly too, since research has traditionally been like limiting and exclusive of people of color, powerful Black, Brown, and Indigenous people being the voices of research, the leaders of researchers. And what we wanted to do is really to change that. And we've developed different tools in ways that are really more community-led. Like when you're doing a focus group, we design our sessions to include the community and even the research protocol design, the questions that we're asking. Are we asking the questions that matter to the community in terms of the data that we're going to collect? We want to make sure that everything that we collect as data goes right back out to the community so that they can use it as a tool. Part of what we saw in research, and I being part of the, traditionally learning research from the academic field and institutions, that data often just went to a peer-reviewed journal. Like you're interviewing people, you're collecting their data, they're spending their time giving you their lived experience. A lot of times that's traumatic things that they have to relive, and they never see what happens with that data.
Do you target that trauma as well?
Yeah, we try to be trauma-informed in how we talk about asking different questions and asking people to show up for us. Even at the end of our focus groups, we ask people, what do you need? What can we do right now to help you? We're not thinking about just extracting data for people,
Yeah.
Right.
from people. And even when we work with other institutions, part of our work as researchers, we do consulting work. And so when we work with other institutions or organizations, we ask them, what's the benefit to somebody participating in this research? Are you, compensating them for their time? Are you connecting them to resources? We're thinking about the whole person as researchers. Part of it too is thinking about the ways that like research has harmed our community. One of the stories that the founder of our organization always tells is with the term drapetomania, how that came about was white men researching enslaved people and saying the reason that they're escaping the plantations is because they have this drapetomania, which makes them right. Research did that. And so we know that research is still a very powerful tool. And so we, as people of color, think about how we can redesign these tools in a way that's not going to cause harm in our community, but we can still use data and research as a powerful tool to make change.
Wait, so in that theory, is it a form of gaslighting on repurposing the data to basically put blame on someone or on a group of people?
In the drapetomania case.
In the drapetomania case, yeah, that was their way of legitimizing why they could enslave Black people.
Okay.
And so they use research to do that.
Oh yes. The I've seen the biblical use of slavery as well, where you look at a certain class of people, and if it's in some type of scripture, then your life purpose is to serve others. It's funny because you lived in Texas, and that's where what is it? Was it?
You're trying to say the Bible Belt.
No,
No.
the holiday
Juneteenth. Oh, yes. Yeah.
came out of, which was Texas.
Okay.
They didn't announce that slavery was abolished.
Right.
So they say that technology was a lot slower back then, so the word didn't get out, right? But just like Haiti, if we're going to talk about slavery, even after the revolution of that took place, nobody knew anything else but to go back to the plantation and keep working. Either way, when we're going back to this data, are you getting fellowships? Are you getting are you being published in articles and so forth? So how can people read up and educate themselves? Because it's not going to be in school, and it's not going to be on any reality TV show. So what you're doing is very groundbreaking work. How can people stay abreast with that information?
Yeah, what we do is we share out the data on our website, wemeasure.org, and any organization that we work with, we partner with them to talk about the different ways that we can share that data, whether it is doing something like this, a podcast where we can talk about it, or we host in-person events, which for us, we call them community data gatherings.
Okay.
So we bring the data out and talk about it with the community, whether to validate it or dig deeper and get more of those lived experiences to further get deeper analysis about what we can actually do, what the community wants to see done in terms of the data that we've received.
Are you traveling to do this?
Are you
going to do one in Miami?
It would be nice to do one in Miami. Right now we are Austin-based or Texas-based. We are expanding to Houston and Dallas. Again, we started off in Austin, so Austin is our home.
Right.
But we definitely would love to be able to do more of this all over.
The Haitian community would love to partner with that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That would be
That would
dope.
be phenomenal.
That would be amazing. And I think that the news or the information, I think a lot of times when we're broadcasting what good health is, people generically think that they already know what it means or what they need to do to be healthy. But even those things are misconstrued. So having someone like yourself who is data informed, who has done the studies, can dive deeper and get a lot of clarity in these areas, So please.
Yeah,
Miami.
I absolutely agree. That would be so much fun to partner with you all to do something like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm wondering, given everything that you've seen in the data, it's Women's History Month. We're celebrating ourselves. What is something that you want to say to the women that are listening? you have so much data that you've seen that probably impacts our lives, or is there anything that you want to challenge someone to think a little bit more about, or start to go on Google and just type in these few words that you think would kind of open up something new for them in regards to health, or in regards to just their relationship in being in a broader community, or in regards to their safety when it comes to policing? Is there any one thing that you want women to think about?
I think the biggest thing, and particularly just from my own experiences, is to never underestimate what you can bring to the table, or what your experiences or your ideas, particularly to just knowing that, the unique experience of women particularly have not always been included. And so we bring such a unique perspective in the ways that we understand emotions and people, and then just the way we think about systems and designing things. It's so needed. So speak up as much as possible. Bring your ideas. Don't be afraid to share them. That would probably be the biggest thing that I know I've learned. Just some ideas that I've brought to teams, and the way that that's shaped the direction of things that, if I didn't say anything, that, it would have completely went in a different direction that might have not been good. And so leaning into just like your experiences and the value that you bring.
It sounds like every family needs a you in there.
On champion.
Yeah, seriously. Like, if someone wanted to follow in your footsteps, what would you tell that young Black woman to do?
I'm like, my footsteps, I've definitely, taken a unique journey, I think.
Steps.
Pivoted a lot.
Right.
I think the most important thing is to come up with a plan. If you have a vision for something, start breaking down like what step one looks like. What is it going to look like to build this business? Who do I need to connect with? Always leaning in. I think particularly, I'm trying to think how I wanted to say this. Learning to lean in on people, or building a community around it.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what we do as Measure, we work with other nonprofits, and what we see is a lot of grassroots leaders feel like they have to do everything by themselves. And that is so exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
And so learning to reach out to people, whether it is, asking for guidance on coaching, or guidance for, who else can be a part of your team. You can't do everything. And especially if you want to grow and scale, it is so important to learn how to build a team.
Mm-hmm.
And so thinking about how you can connect with others to help you with whatever it is that you envision for yourself. Again, coming up with a good plan, sticking with that plan, being very disciplined, consistent, pivoting when you need to, knowing when to let things go. Like, okay, this isn't working. I've actually been consistent with this and I'm not getting the results that I want. What else can I do differently? But that's probably the biggest thing I would say. Nobody's journey is the same. And so leaning in on that, your experience is going to be very unique to you. You don't have to take the path that everyone else take. Be comfortable with things being a little bit different for you, which is something that I had to kind of be comfortable with, particularly not following the traditional med school track and just ending up on a completely different path that is totally exactly where I need to be, and me now fully living out my purpose.
So did you have to explain to your parents that, is it Dr. Oye? Or,
Yeah.
what? I don't understand. Are you a lawyer? You
It's
keep
hard
using the
to
word
explain.
avocat.
Yeah. I actually still have to explain that on a daily basis.
Really?
Like, okay, you did your master's, you did grad school. You're not a doctor yet. What happened?
Doctor?
I
Who doctor?
celebrate the fact that the next generation is going to be able to understand. The next generation that's coming after us are going to be able to understand that there are more doctors than medical doctors.
Oh,
And
yes.
so
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you to talk to more people who understand what you're doing. But I heard so many good gems, Shaw. As a woman, I'm taking notes, okay? I'm still trying to write out my plan. I heard what you said earlier about bringing ourselves to the table, right? Acknowledging the value that we bring to teams, right? Not shying away from speaking up and, providing value to the work that we're, engaging with, right? And creating a plan and being disciplined and not being afraid to say that, hey, this isn't working anymore and I shouldn't have any shame. It's okay for me to pivot. It's okay for me to move forward. Right. And the most beautiful thing I think I've heard you say during this podcast is that you are living out your purpose. And I'm just so grateful that you would even give us that gift to be able to share that. Right, Shaw?
Yeah. I mean, listen, she's grinding, though. I see what she's doing. She's got her head down. She's in meetings all the time. She took a meeting before a meeting. You know, she said, listen, I got a micro meeting on the side, so don't mind me. I see what you're doing. She's always on the grind. So I applaud you for working diligently. So let's do some quick fun rounds.
Yeah, let's do it. You ready?
Yeah.
You know, we could do that. Okay. So what do you like to do for fun?
I love traveling.
Okay.
I just love exploring other cultures, just seeing a different way of life, and also just all of the beautiful other places that God created outside. I mean, I think Miami's number one.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
biased.
Okay.
Born and raised here, but
Yeah.
love getting out to explore tons of other places. Other than that, I'm a reader. I love getting into books. As a kid, that was my escape from La Calle, L'École, and Ligley's.
What's your favorite book right now?
Right now it is.
Or what are you reading right now?
It's nonviolent communication.
Nonviolent communication.
Interesting book that someone recommended to me. We're just having a conversation about empathy, and that book came up, and I was like, oh, let me get into it. And it actually really shaped my perspective on like communicating with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of myself as being violent, but
There's different forms, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
The book kind of talks about some ways that our communication can be more nonviolent, and so that was actually what I'm currently on. I haven't done as much leisure reading as I would want to.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to stay away from like self-help books and more so of the fun, like adventure books. So if you guys have any recommendations for good like adventure novels,
I got a bunch of them.
so send
I
it
got
this way.
72 books that I'm trying to finish up this year.
What?
But
Love
I'm one of those information gorgers.
that.
I'm always like trying to process information and data keep and try to reutilize or repurpose at some other point. So I need to back off a little bit and just read some like Indiana Jones books, but I could recommend some to you.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah. So you shoot off a question.
Okay. Since it's Women's History Month, what is one of your favorite skin or beauty products?
I don't use a lot of products, but my favorite ones so far are Bare Minerals. If I decide to put makeup on, they're natural based products. They don't have a lot of the harsh chemicals. And then there's a new brand that I've discovered at Target. They're called Verse. But they do a lot of the facial skincare stuff, and it's really all clean ingredients. So I just more so lean into products that are really clean ingredients, and also just very cost effective. I try not to spend too much money.
Yeah,
on
I love it.
I don't know what y'all talking about, so we'll learn about. I'll learn about this all
Actually,
set.
Shaw was just talking about aloe vera earlier, so I think we're all on the same
I was
path.
talking about aloe vera. Yeah.
Everybody got skin.
Yeah. No, but this is for hair. I was learning about it with hair, how it detangles and how it develops hair growth. And I saw this woman using it on her babies.
Oh,
Like she's so we'll talk about that some other time.
that's so
All right,
funny.
another question. How's your tennis game? She's hiding her tennis game. I gotta see what she's doing out there.
I would say I'm a beginner.
She's capping. You capping.
She's further along
She
than
said,
me.
"I'm a
I've not
beginner
been
my
on the
whole
court."
life."
I've been off and on. This is probably the last 3 months is probably the most consistent I've been. We're trying to get out and like really learning and practicing like my forehands and backhands. But I'm very much still a beginner. But I
Still a
love
beginner?
getting out there.
But she's
I
in
play
like
for
2
fun.
tennis groups.
Listen, she's trying to up her game. Okay.
She's all right, bet. All right. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I definitely want to take time to acknowledge the state of emergency that is taking place in Haiti. My father lives in Haiti, but he's here right now. What's going on with Kenya? What's going on with the prison system of the releasing of prisoners? The lack of president, but there is a president, acting president at the moment. Yes, he's prime minister, but he's also acting president. And I'm not going to get into politics, but I do wish that as we're part of the brain drain of Haiti, that we can find a way to bring our knowledge and resources back to our people, not only at home, but the diaspora as well, because we are being utilized, but we're not utilizing ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important that we formulate these communities. And this is what the Haitian community is about. It's not about where do you work, but how can we work together?
Yeah, absolutely, Shaw. And I think we can learn a lot from Paulette and the work that she's doing with Measure Up in regards to what does it look like for the Haitian community back home to define what democracy looks like for us, right? If we could start from scratch and not model it after other countries, right? I really think that for us, by us, is something really that...
Hubu.
Yeah.
Ubu.
Is it Ubu?
Hubu.
Okay, I'm going to let you say it.
You know what I'm talking about?
I can't say it.
You get it? It's not Fubu, it's Hubu.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ubu.
I mean, I got to figure out the Creole version of it. Haitians.
But
I love that.
Yeah.
we are so proud of you, Paulette, and we want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and share with us. We're so grateful to hear that you are in your purpose, that you are enjoying your work, that you are making an impact. We thank you, especially as a researcher myself, for your culturally responsive research, right? And go Gators again.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for the work that you all are doing with the Haitian community. Any way that I can support, I'm happy to be a part of.
How can people, and do you want people to follow your work? How can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I am on LinkedIn, Paulette Blanc. But for Measure, follow us on any social platform. We are at We Measure US. That's WEMEASURE US. And then also our website is wemeasure.org.
Okay. You have videos up there?
Yes, we do.
You do?
We have videos. We also have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, do you have an outlet to communicate a lot of this information? Because it sounds like y'all should be having town hall meetings.
Yeah, we do. We definitely have our in-person events. They are in Austin right now, but hopefully we do get to do them in other places.
Yeah.
But you'll find those events on our website. We also, too, if you can sign up on our website, the newsletter, you'll always
have a
be
newsletter.
up to date,
Perfect.
to date, too, with all of the things that we're working on. We have our Black Paper Fridays. So
What's that?
Black Papers are similar to a report, but we call them Black Papers because they are a community-led report in which it is a tool for advocacy. So, again, we make sure any data that we collect goes right back out to the community as a tool for advocacy.
Are they like
Wow.
WikiLeaks?
This is so powerful. You renamed it instead of white papers.
Right.
You renamed it Black Paulette. Oh my God.
Yeah, we about
That
to go
is
back
so
to
dope.
Africa right
Listen.
now.
We ready. Hey.
Well, thank you again.
Yes.
Why don't you take us
Absolutely.
out?
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us on our on our third podcast episode of the Haitian community. We are so grateful to be able to celebrate change makers. We encourage you guys to check us out on all social media handles at Empower Haitians. We cannot wait to connect with you. And remember, this is our community podcast, so we really want to hear from you all. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.